Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 103 based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng looked at Morosa in surprise. With the power of 1/3 of the life forms in the world, he only needed a small amount of mental power to activate the Blood Shadow Knife moves. In terms of power alone, he was 50% to 60% of the Emperor. Of course, his moves were much worse than the Emperor Guoshu. The Emperor Guoshu and the Wuxin God King had both realized the ultimate secrets. As expected of a world beast, he is so powerful just after reaching the second level of the God King. Luo Feng finished speaking and drew his sword again. Whoosh! The knife light turned into a mark of heaven and earth. In an instant, a mark appeared on the heaven and earth, and this mark also penetrated Morosa's body. Morosa's body was split into two. Although it was healing, it was also blocked by the mark of heaven and earth. This move is weaker than the previous one, but it seems to cut off everything. Morosa was surprised and felt, "Master, what is the name of your move?" "I learned a special inheritance which contains a very powerful secret method of the second level of the God King, called Return to One. Luo Feng did not hide it from Morosa. This secret method of Return to One can be divided into 3 levels. Morosa praised, "Master's secret method is very powerful. It should be 30% to 40% of the power of my secret method." Luo Feng's face darkened. "Good guy?" "The third move." Luo Feng's face darkened, and the whole person and the blood shadow knife in his hand seemed to be one. Boom! A rainbow light flashed. This rainbow light had already entered Morosa's body. After entering Morosa's body, this rainbow light suddenly exploded. The incomparable and surging power rushed violently in all directions, wantonly destroying Morosa's body. "Master, are you playing with self-destruction?" Morosa felt the violent and terrifying power in his body, but there was a trace of confidence in his eyes. His body was rapidly expanded by the impact of the explosion, like an oversized balloon, but his body withstood this terrifying explosion. A rainbow light flashed in Morosa's body, and he had already escaped to the outside world. It was Luo Feng holding the blood shadow knife. "This is not a self-destruction." Luo Feng held the blood shadow knife. "My clone has only burned 1/10 of it. Direct self-destruction is too inefficient. This is an explosive move from the Guyi secret method. The more the body burns, the greater the power." Of course, Luo Feng has burned so much energy, which is already the limit of this move. "Only 1/10 of it has injured me. If all of it explodes, I will indeed lose 30% to 40% of my strength." Morosa looked at Luo Feng and sighed, "Master, as a first-level God King, you are indeed too strong." Luo Feng was speechless. That was already the strongest move. This Morosa is already much stronger than himself. "I'm not best at killing enemies." Luo Feng looked at Morosa. "Come on, it's your turn now. Go ahead. If you have the ability, destroy this clone of my world life form." "Okay." The real Morosa looked at Luo Feng, and his whole body suddenly burst into light. Boom! In an instant, this level of the Star Tower was plunged into a vast expanse of white. The entire space seemed to be cleared, and Luo Feng was naturally eroded by the light. What a strong erosion ability! Luo Feng stood there with broken wounds on his huge body, but it was constantly recovering. Luo Feng raised his head and looked around. His skin was already broken. Based on the realm alone, I can't find him anymore. Luo Feng sighed secretly. As the master of the Star Tower, he can control everything in the Star Tower at any time. And he was also the master of Morosa, so he knew Morosa's current state very well. Morosa. At this moment, his body had merged with the heaven and earth, and this level of the Star Tower had become Morosa. "Master, be careful." A terrifying power attacked, as if the entire space was flattened, and Luo Feng's body was also flattened, but even if it was flattened into a silver river. Luo Feng's world life form was still intact. Destroy. There was also an invisible attack, suddenly attacking every life structure of Luo Feng's life form. It's just that this invisible attack is relatively weak, and each of Luo Feng's life structures is a small world in itself, and can resist it. Morosa used 30 tricks in succession, but Luo Feng's clone was 1/3 of the world's life energy reserve. Even if the Emperor took action personally, it would take some tricks to completely destroy it. The Master's world life form has a very strong recovery ability. Morosa stopped. The speed at which I consume energy cannot catch up with the Master's recovery speed. You are very powerful. The vast silver river condensed into Luo Feng in silver clothes. Your current strength is already at the peak level among the second level of the God King. Enough to compete with Emperor Guishu and Wuxin God King. Luo Feng and the members of the Samsara building have been to the treasure land many times and have seen a lot. Naturally, they can judge Morosa's strength level. The peak of the second level of the God King? Morosa thought. In fact, in terms of the mysterious moves, you are still a lot worse than Emperor Guishu and Wuxin God King. Luo Feng said, but you are more comprehensive. The power of the perfect life form is also high enough. In terms of realm, he is inferior. But Morosa's foundation is too deep. No short boss. It's still too weak. Morosa shook his head. I heard that even the peak of the second level of the God King can't resist the Emperor and the Monarch and can only reincarnate in time. The Emperor and the Monarch are ultimate life forms after all. And as the Emperors and Monarchs of the two ancient countries, they are equipped with powerful secret treasures and weapons. They can rival the peak beasts. Luo Feng said. At the level of Emperor Guishu, facing the Emperor and the Monarch, they can only reincarnate. Among the peak of the second level of the God King, only a few people such as the Wuxin God King and the Master of the Time and Space Lonely Boat can escape from the Emperor and the Monarch, and their ability to escape has reached an incredible level. Even my world life form. Luo Feng said, the damage you have done to me cannot catch up with my own recovery. But facing the Emperor, the Monarch, use more tricks and you can completely annihilate my body. Even if he bombarded hundreds of attacks. With the speed of the Emperor, it would take only a blink of an eye to hit hundreds of attacks. It doesn't take that many tricks. Morosa looked at Luo Feng. If they can match the peak world beast, they should be able to break the cage. Expel you directly from the source world and throw you outside the cage. As long as you don't have the ability to return. I'm afraid it will take only a moment for the world life form to be annihilated in the origin space. Luo Feng was stunned. Expelled from the source world? Now, you already know the ability of the peak world beast? Luo Feng asked. Yes. Morosa nodded. The ability of the peak world beast is much stronger than my current one. And many of its moves are much more terrifying. I guess even the emperors and monarchs of the two ancient countries can match the world beast with their secret treasures and weapons. Can't stop it? Luo Feng was puzzled. It's just that its strength is comparable. The world beast is like me, it can have many clones. Morosa said, even if there are 3 or 5 of the same level, it can't stop it from destroying the world. Luo Feng thought. The world beast, a perfect life form, masters the complete destruction of the origin. And there are so many clones. It's hard to think about it. It should be the ancestors of the two countries and the ancestors of the eastern region, as well as the Emperor Qing who surpassed the God King. Morosa thought, the ones that the peak world beasts are afraid of should be them. But those ancestors will not act easily. Master, you said that the power of their moves is limited to the ultimate realm of the God King, but their realm is extremely high. Morosa said, as long as all the world beast clones cannot be destroyed in an instant, the world beasts counterattack. The two ancient countries will also suffer serious damage. Morosa now vaguely perceives the direction of many peak-level moves, and he knows very well how terrifying he will be in the future. If the peak realm beasts had no ability to resist, they would have been crushed and imprisoned long ago. Luo Feng agreed. Morosa, Luo Feng asked, how much of the same Han Yuan bloodline biological material do you need to eat to reach the ultimate realm? I haven't even reached the limit of the second level of the Divine King realm yet. Morosa said, to reach the ultimate realm? I estimate that I will need 20 to 30 portions of similar food. 20 to 30 portions? Luo Feng felt quite stressed after hearing this. That's 2 or 3 complete Hunyuan bloodline biological corpses. Each one can be comparable to the previous food. You know, complete corpse can extract 3 to 5 portions of Hunyuan bloodline. The value is ridiculously high. If you slowly absorb the power of heaven and earth, you can hopefully reach the ultimate realm. It just takes a long time. Morosa looked at his master. Inferior food is fine, but the quantity must be larger. No hurry. Luo Feng waved his hand. Wait until he is stronger. Master, I have good news. Morosa looked at his master. Good news? Luo Feng looked at him in confusion. After I reached the 2nd level of the God King, I was able to fully mobilize the great way of destruction in my body. Morosa smiled slightly, and suddenly the endless and vast complete great way of destruction appeared in this level of the Star Tower. Luo Feng looked at it in surprise. A complete great way of destruction? The 2 ancient countries have a way to let the guests watch the complete great way of destruction, and it takes 800,000 merits in a century. The longer you can observe the avenue, the better. For example, Luo Feng has observed the avenue of the origin of life for more than 200 years. The higher the realm, the new gains you will get from observing the avenue. Although Luo Feng himself has many treasures, his contributions to the ancient country of Yangfeng are not enough, not even enough to exchange for a century. Morosa can mobilize the complete avenue in his body. Doesn't that mean that I can observe it forever? Luo Feng was very excited. Luo Feng looked up. The complete avenue displayed by Morosa? Luo Feng saw a huge creature with 6 horns at first glance. This huge creature sat cross-legged, and the 6 horns implicitly represented the 6 directions of the avenue of destruction. In another trance, the complete avenue of origin of destruction turned into that dark red terrifying monster, and its bloody mouth seemed to swallow everything. Various different appearances appeared in Luo Feng's observation. He understood that each appearance could lead to a path if he followed it. And many paths would eventually lead to the same goal, the complete avenue of destruction. Master, my real body is here to maintain the avenue of origin of destruction, and I will send a clone out first. Morosa couldn't help but speak. Go? Luo Feng waved his hand. Immediately, with Luo Feng's permission, a simple and honest Morosa clone quietly left the Star Tower and went out to enjoy life happily. At the entrance of the treasure land, Jianhe, you can see an illusory river, but if you really fly into it, you will find that this river is endless. The depth of the Jianhe also has no end. There is a flying boat deep in the Jianhe River. Inside the flying boat, there is a hairy figure sitting cross-legged. He naturally absorbs the water of the Jianhe River and integrates it into his body, nourishing the Hunyuan blood in his body. Jian Kuan and the others are really unwilling to give up. Surround me. The leader of the Yushui kingdom was quite disdainful, but they don't have the courage to go into the deepest part of the Jianhe River. There are 6 tyrannical beings on the side of the Jiankuan kingdom. They are exploring the treasures of Jianhe and practicing in Jianhe. At the same time, they also block off key areas. The Yushui kingdom is also very patient. Let alone more than 100 centuries, it is more than 1,000 years. The Yushui kingdom lord, it takes a lot of patience. Take it slow. If my strength goes further and I understand the secret method of the ultimate realm from the Hunyuan bloodline, I will be able to deal with 6 of them by then. The leader of Yushui hopes to go further. But they all know that they can't make any further progress for hundreds of millions of years. Want to break through? How difficult it is. Brother Yushui, Lord Landuo of the ancient Thunder Kingdom has entered Jianhe. Run away. Suddenly, news came. When the leader of Yushui Kingdom received the news, his heart trembled. Oops. The Lord of Yushui put away the airship in an instant, and dived deep into the Jianhe River without hesitation. Rumble tilde Shinshin, the Jianhe River is getting deeper and deeper, surrounded by dangers and hidden terrors, but at this time, Lord Yushui is not afraid of death and goes deep into the river. Suddenly saw an underwater mountain range, and the Lord of Yushui immediately wanted to get closer, but as he approached, invisible waves eroded his body, causing his body to be quickly shattered. The Lord of Yushui threw away the God King level secret treasure flying boat in his hand. This secret treasure flying boat contained all the gains he had made during his long years in Qianhe. The secret treasure flying boat withstood the fluctuations of the mountains. It was obviously much tougher than the body of the Lord of Yushui Kingdom, and finally landed in the mountains. Whoosh! The leader of Yushui Kingdom immediately turned and fled to another place. He fled frantically, but after only flying for more than 10 breaths, he sensed that a terrifying force had locked onto him from a distance. Lord Landuo. Lord Yushui looked up. This terrifying power locked onto him. He also saw the source of the power, a towering figure wearing aqua-blue robes. He has blue and white scales all over his body and 3 scaly tails. He has a holy appearance and cold eyes. He is looking at the Lord of Yushui from a distance. Through cause and effect, he can easily target the leader of Yushui Kingdom. Even though they were separated by an extremely long distance, they were both within the scope of Qianhe. When Lord Landuo took a look, he felt endless power descending upon him. Wow dash! The body of the Lord of Yushui Kingdom is tough and full of vitality, and he is always absorbing the water of the Qianhe River to maintain himself. However, under the endless power, most of it has been annihilated. In less than a breath, the body of the Lord of Yushui Kingdom is completely annihilated. Have all the treasures been hidden? Lord Landuo glanced at it and then continued to hunt other targets. Qianhe may seem vast, but in fact the relatively safe area is only that large. Lord Landuo patrolled it very familiarly, intending to inspect most of the safe areas in Qianhe. Monarch. I have met Monarch Landuo. In Qianhe, all the ancient god kings were extremely respectful once they sensed the power of this monarch. Neither the royal family god kings of the 2 ancient kingdoms were implicated, and the Kaching god king of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom was also let off. As for the rest, all other god kings, as long as this Lord Landuo is discovered, will be killed. It's Lord Landuo of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom. Upon receiving the news, Lord Qianquan and his companions were so frightened that they burrowed wildly into the depths of the Qianhe River. The Lord of the Qianquan Kingdom is a guest from the Yangfeng Ancient Kingdom. Lord Landuo will not let it go either. Just for a moment. Lord Landuo inspected the area where the Lord Qianquan was close, and the invisible realm had already locked the Lord Qianquan. It's over. Lord Qianquan knew it was over when he was locked by that terrifying force. He even knew that begging for mercy was useless. The body of Lord Qianquan was also annihilated. The ancient god kings in Qianhe, mainly the idol god kings and the guest god kings of Yangfeng Ancient Kingdom, under the inspection of Lord Landuo, more than 90% of their true bodies were wiped out. Only a handful of them either had great escape abilities or relied on the Qianhe environment to escape. This time Lord Landuo was patrolling the Qianhe River, and both the lords of Yushui and Qianquan died. 4 of the 5 companions of Lord Qianquan also died, and only one escaped by chance. A great fire destroyed Huyang City. What? Luo Feng also got the news. I can't help it. I'm so unlucky that I met Lord Landuo from the Thunder Ancient Kingdom. The Lord of Yushui Kingdom sent a message. Luo Feng had never been to Qianhe. I heard that the environment of Qianhe is very helpful to the water attribute, but it excludes other avenue powers. The 2 ancient kingdoms, Emperor Xian and Landuo Monarch, of the water attribute Hunyuan bloodline. Yes, just these 2. They have accumulated a lot and seldom come to Qianhe. The leader of Yushui side, but once they come, they will inspect them once and kill them all except the royal family of the 2 ancient countries and the guests of this country. Luo Feng nodded. It's still not easy to hide in the Qianhe environment. Like the Dream Realm, there are massive spaces, and each space exists alone. Only if they are in the same space, can they be discovered. The security is naturally much higher. Like infinite space, you have to open up the avenue yourself. Even if the emperors enter, they will have the same physical body and their strength will be very weak. The idol god kings are naturally much safer. Many treasure places have a certain protective effect on the weak. It's just that the protection ability is strong or weak. The disadvantage of Tianhe is that the safe area is easy to find, but the extremely deep dangerous area is difficult to enter. Blessings and misfortunes depend on each other. The Lord of Yushui Kingdom sent a message, Tianhe is a treasure land for us, and there is usually no big crisis. The crisis in Tianhe is other practitioners. If you meet the emperor or the monarch, it can only be regarded as bad luck. Do you need my help? Luo Feng asked. No need, Lord Qiankun has also been wiped out this time. Lord Yushui said with a smile, he doesn't have the guts to cause trouble again. I can sense that 5 of my 6 enemies have been wiped out this time. The real body was lost. Everyone suffered huge losses, and the leader of the Yushui Kingdom was in balance. Luo Feng sighed secretly. Just one monarch goes out on a patrol and sweeps away everything he passes. The Yangfeng Ancient Kingdom has 13 emperors, and the Thunder Ancient Kingdom has 9 monarchs. On the side of idol practitioners, those in the ultimate realm include the Lord of the 10,000 Realms and the Realm Beasts. There are only 5 people who can surpass the level of the Emperor, including the Queen of Wind City and the Lord of the Mother River. And more than half of these beings are on good terms with the 2 ancient countries. Although the number of idol practitioners is large, the top-level combat power is too different. This is because the ancestors of the 2 countries above the God Kings and the ancestors of the East G territory did not take much action. No wonder the idol practitioners are hiding in secret, and most of them even join the forces established by the 3 major alien races. Luo Feng secretly sighed. With the guidance of those 3 alien races, the idol practitioners can compete for resources with the 2 ancient countries. There is one more thing to be thankful for. The biggest competitors of these emperors and monarchs are each other. It also gives idol practitioners a chance to breathe. Treasure Land Infinite Space. On a vast lake, there is a small island, and a clone of Luo Feng is practicing here. Since Morosa reached the 2nd level of the God King, he was able to show the complete avenue of destruction of the origin. Luo Feng is destroying the origin. The practice of the Great Road has also ushered in an explosive period. Many accumulations in the past are undergoing transformation. Wow! A dark mixed hole appeared in the center of Luo Feng's palm. This dark mixed hole was full of life and toughness, and its density was incredibly high. At this moment, the power inside the mixed cave is spinning, and countless condensed dark sword lights are flowing inside, constantly converging and merging. 5 meridians unite. The immortal light of the mixed cave. Luo Feng watched as a wisp of substantial sword light emerged from the dark mixed cave. The power of this ray of sword light was extremely terrifying. It was much more terrifying than the strongest move that Luo Feng and Morosa used to use, the Blood Shadow Sword with 1/3 of the world's life forms during their sparring match. The immortal light of the Hundorn Cave is completely perfected. Luo Feng looked at the light of the sword bred in the Hundorn Cave in his palm and couldn't believe it. The first secret method of the 2nd level of the God King that, I realized, was actually the great way of life and death. Secret method. Yes. The immortal light of the mixed hole was created by Luo Feng a long time ago. It is the source of life and the spirituality of life that combines the splitting skyline, the dark skyline, and the mixed skyline of the avenue of destruction into the avenue of life and death. A total of 5 branches of integration. With the accumulation of Luo Feng's realm, the integration of the 5 branches has been advancing and improving. Just now, Luo Feng unknowingly integrated the 5 branches into this trick of Hundong immortality. Light. For example, the 24-phase forms and secret technique of unification that Luo Feng is meditating on are theoretically the ultimate secret techniques that can be created by the 1st level of the God King. But the immortal light of the mixed whole at this moment is the secret method of the fusion of 5 major branches. Although these 5 major branches come from 2 avenues. Life, destruction, birth and death, 3 avenues, the secret method of the 2nd level of the God King is birth and death. The avenue was first created. Luo Feng also felt emotional. Of course, creating a secret method does not mean reaching the 2nd level of the God King. The essence of Tao must be completely mastered to achieve a breakthrough. Just like the Guishu Emperor and the Wuxin God King, They also created the ultimate secret method by chance. But there is still a long way to go to fully understand the complete avenue. Of course, as a trick that completely integrates the 5 major branches, it is already considered extremely impressive in the second level of the God King. After all, the avenue of the origin of life and the avenue of destruction are the 6 major branches respectively. Even the moves that Morosa has mastered now are not as mysterious as Luo Feng's move of Hundong Immortal Light. Life and death. Luo Feng sat cross-legged on the grass and murmured to himself, but a flash of inspiration emerged in his mind. For the first time, he realized the secret method of life and death in the second level of the God King, which made Luo Feng's understanding of the avenue of life and death undergo a transformation. At this moment, a branch of the Tao of life and death gradually took shape in Luo Feng's heart. This video will end here.